Does Section 56 of the Maharashtra Rent Control Act apply to leave license agreement tenants or lessees? Can they take monetary considerations for relinquishing their tenancy rights? Or does Section 56 apply only to Pagri tenants? Section 56 of the Maharashtra Rent Control Act, 1999, addresses the issue of tenants relinquishing their tenancy rights in exchange for monetary consideration. This provision is particularly relevant in the case of Pagri tenants, who are a specific category of protected tenants under the Act. Pagri tenants are tenants under the traditional Pagri system, where they have long-term tenancy rights. They usually pay nominal rent, and in return, they enjoy strong protection from eviction and rent increases under the Maharashtra Rent Control Act. Section 56 allows Pagri tenants to accept monetary compensation when they agree to surrender their tenancy rights to the landlord or a third party. This is a key feature of the Pagri system, which has historically involved tenants selling their tenancy rights back to the landlord or another buyer in exchange for a significant sum of money. For example, if a Pagri tenant agrees to vacate the property, they can negotiate with the landlord or a new buyer to receive compensation for giving up their tenancy rights. This transaction is legal under Section 56, making it possible for tenants to benefit financially from their long-standing tenancy. The provision effectively legalizes the transfer of tenancy rights for a monetary consideration, which is common in Mumbai and other parts of Maharashtra where the Pagri system is prevalent. Leave and license tenants are those who occupy a property under a leave and license agreement, which is usually a short-term contract governed by the Indian Easements Act of 1882, rather than the Maharashtra Rent Control Act. These agreements typically do not offer the same long-term protection or benefits as those enjoyed by Pagri tenants. They are short-term licenses to occupy a property, often for a period of 11 months, with the option to renew. Section 56 does not apply to leave and license tenants. Since these tenants do not have the same protected status as Pagri tenants, they are not entitled to any form of compensation for vacating the premises. Their rights and obligations are governed by the terms of their contract, and they are generally expected to vacate the premises once their agreement ends, without any monetary compensation. Key differences. Pagri tenants, protected under the Maharashtra Rent Control Act, allowed to accept monetary consideration for giving up tenancy rights, have long-term rights and protections against eviction. Leave and license tenants governed by the Indian Easements Act, not covered by Section 56 of the Maharashtra Rent Control Act, have short-term occupancy with no legal right to compensation when vacating the premises. Implications of Section 56. For Pagri tenants, this section provides a legal framework for them to negotiate with landlords or third parties to give up their tenancy in return for monetary consideration. In the real estate market, this is often beneficial for both parties. Tenants receive compensation, while landlords regain control of the property for redevelopment or sale. For leave and license tenants, their situation is more transactional, and they do not have the same protections. Their agreements are strictly time-bound, and they typically do not have the leverage to demand compensation upon vacating. Conclusion. Pagri tenants are allowed under Section 56 to take monetary compensation for relinquishing their tenancy. Leave and license tenants are not covered by Section 56 and cannot claim similar compensation, as their rights are based on contractual terms, not tenancy protections under the Maharashtra Rent Control Act.